let's touch on the Cecil Hotel then, because it came up, and now I feel like
Right.
we can't go past it. So you watched the
I did.
docuseries
I
on
forgot
Netflix.
that we were going to talk about
This is a real hotel?
Yeah.
This just came out. This is brand new 2021 4-episode docuseries on Netflix. I don't even remember. It's the Cecil Hotel. It's about the murder of, or it's about the. It's not a murder.
Which murder? That's the real question.
Yeah, it's about So what were you gonna say?
So basically, it was a lot of build up to nothing.
Yeah.
I saw a tweet yesterday that was like, this documentary could have been an email.
yeah. But it was still good, I thought. I don't know if you enjoyed it.
I mean,
Good
I watched the whole
yeah.
thing, so that's something.
It definitely makes you have to keep watching because it keeps the suspense factor going. When in reality, I mean, we won't spoil it. I would say go. I do think it's worth a watch. I think the story behind the hotel itself is interesting, even if you take away what the documentary is actually about, because the documentary is about a specific girl. And then I'll talk. I'll have one more thing to say once we're done recording because I don't want to ruin it. But I knew exactly what happened, and I'll explain why once we get there. But pretty much the hotel is like the most dangerous hotel in the world, they call it. Like, they don't know if it's haunted or what, but since it's like when it first opened, it was like high class, and then like depression came and it turned into just like the bums from LA like would get enough money to get a room for a night and go in there and like shoot up and do whatever and rob, kill, whatever to people.
It's basically like borderline like a sleazy motel type thing, except it was a
but it's a huge
large
hotel. It's like it's got like 700 rooms. So then in turn, like to try to like give business back, they split the hotel into 2 separate companies, and they were calling one the Stay on Main, which was like a cheap hostel virtually for like young like tourists. And it was going, that was going whatever. The problem was that the hotel itself is in the, I don't even remember what they call it.
It's in the same area as Skid Row.
Skid Row, yeah.
Yeah, which is where a lot of homeless people stay. There's a bunch of homeless shelters and whatnot. But yeah, it's not a great part of LA. I think they said it's in like the downtown area.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it is. But it's like notoriously the worst part, crime-wise, homeless people everywhere. And that was the thing, is it's very unsuspecting. Like if you came across the Cecil Hotel, you'd be like, oh yeah, I don't want to stay there. But if you were to come across the Stay on Main website, they had you'd be like, oh, this looks like a place where I'd want to stay. And all it was they had different lobbies, but then like 3 floors of the Cecil were just the Stay on Main, and they just repainted everything in those 3 floors.
Yeah, both hotels shared an elevator or 2 elevators or something like that. So that was the only point where anyone from either hotel would really interact with each other.
I mean, yeah, well, supposedly, but then, and I was also thinking while watching it, well, if they're in the same elevator, what's stopping somebody from the Cecil just getting off on a floor that is technically considered?
Well, I mean, exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's another thing too, where it was a lot of false advertising.
It was very, it seems like that should have been illegal. Speaking of things that we've talked about in this episode that should have been illegal, is calling that the Stay on Main and not having a disclaimer that said like, hey, by the way, this is really just the Cecil Hotel in the middle of the worst part of Los Angeles.
I mean, I'm sure that there was something, but for a tourist, I mean, in the documentary, they interviewed a couple from the UK, and I think that they were technically staying.
They were staying in the Stay on Main, yes, but they didn't realize what it was. The thing is, it's so cheap to stay there.
Yeah, that was their draw-in.
Yeah, pennies on the dollar kind of thing per night. So if you were going as somebody young who wanted to explore a city like Los Angeles, it's a crazy documentary. I mean, it's definitely not the best thing you can watch, but I would say it's worth a watch just because the history of the hotel is wacky.
I mean,
and then at one point this random like Satan worshiper comes to play that part.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was waiting for.
That was just a blip. That's really what it was.
It was actually in there for no reason.
Yeah, they drew it out for no reason, and it was more just like this poor guy was being bashed because people thought that he was a murderer based off of this woman's disappearance and stuff like that. But they were drawing from, he had a YouTube video of him saying that he was staying at the Cecil Hotel, and that was from I think a year prior to her staying there or something like that.
But people just were so convinced. They started calling. You got to watch it. They ruined this dude's. You know what I mean? You know how the story goes.
I mean, I would say we could just tell you what happens because I feel like your time would be better spent elsewhere because it's a lot of nothing, I feel like. I mean, I think that it was very well produced and very well put together, but if you look up the story, I think that's more than enough than watching 4 hours of content.
I would say what we really want to see is a documentary on the Cecil Hotel itself. I know they did it on Ghost Hunters or something like that. They claim it's the most haunted place they've ever done their thing in.
But don't they say that every episode?
I'm sure they do. Yeah, I'm sure.
There's
they do.
I don't know. There's that prison where the Adam Sandler movie, The Longest Yard, was shot. That's supposed to be the most haunted place in the world.
Did you know that? I'm now convinced The Longest Yard. So I didn't know. This is. It doesn't matter. It's so irrelevant. Neither of you guys are gonna care.
Okay.
Okay, great. Anyways,
yeah. I mean,
and so there was a guy. I think he was like an assistant director on that shoot, and the director, one of the producers, was like, "I'll give you they went around the crew actually, and they collected money. They ended up getting." I want to say it was $300, but it might have been more. It was like, if you stay the night in this prison, the morning we'll come get you. If you stay locked in a cell for the night, we'll come get you. You get $300 or however much money. It might have been more that you get. So the guy was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I'm not afraid. And stayed there all night. Next morning, everybody kind of comes back in, and they let him out of the cell, and he was like, I don't want the money. I'm just not gonna I just don't want to talk about it. And he wouldn't tell anybody what happened to him while he was in there. But it sounds like it was so fucked up that he just, I don't know,
wants to act like it never happened.
Huh?
That's crazy. I never heard that story.